Carl.
Hello. May I ask who I'm speaking with? Are you a member of the so-called mantid race?
You can say so, yes. I'm
Uh,
somewhat what
do,
you consider androgynous. I don't have what you consider a name, but I am an
well,
individual.
it's very it's an honor to talk to you. I've been fascinated with the mantid beings for several years now. I think like when most people from Earth think of extraterrestrials, they picture the Zeta Grays or like maybe the reptilians, but we really know almost nothing about you guys, the so-called insectoids. So basically today I'm just hoping to learn a little bit about you, if that's okay with you. A little bit has to do with, I would hope to learn a little bit about this hybrid program you have with the Zeta Grays, but I mean, to begin with, I would like to just learn a little bit about you. So like for the people listening that aren't very familiar with the mantid beings, can you please like give a physical appearance of what you look like and tell me how tall you are?
Physical appearance would probably be similar to certain beings on your world that indeed you have considered a praying mantis, but mostly the head. Mostly the head. Body is somewhat different. It's not like I'm a 2 meter tall praying mantis. I also have features you would consider human from your understanding, but I'm not a mammal. I am an insect, but my head is mostly such. I have what you consider arms, but not necessarily what you consider hands. Hands are much different. I also have legs that are not exact like a praying mantis.
Do you have just two legs or do you have four like praying mantises
I have
have?
four,
Oh,
but
wow,
not all of them.
interesting.
Some have two. I'm mostly brownish, greenish coloration, except my eyes, they're more reddish, yellowish.
What does your mouth look like? Do you have mandibles like our praying mantises do?
You would look at it such, yes, but not
Ooh,
exactly the same.
interesting. Um, d I may have misheard you a minute ago. Did you say that you are 2 meters tall?
A little smaller. I said I'm not necessarily a 2 meter tall version of a praying mantis.
Oh, okay. Okay, interesting. Uh, do you, this is kind of a random question, but do you normally wear clothes or no?
Normally not, if at all, something like you would consider a coat or a robe.
I see. Um, okay, now a slightly different topic. I'm hoping to learn a little bit about your planet, maybe. Yeah, like first of all, are you allowed to tell me like where your planet is located?
We
Your
don't
home
speak
planet?
about location, no.
Okay,
I can
I
share
totally.
some information, but not location.
Um, I understand. Can you tell me like what the planet looks like? I mean, is it similar to Earth at all? Does it have oceans and vegetation?
It has much water. Vegetation is sparse, but water is present, many mountains, and the water is differently scattered. It's not like big oceans, there are many more, but smaller bodies of water all over the planet. Fairly widespread, so they're not as big landmass or not as much big oceans. It's more balanced. Strange word. The reptile suggested it. Strange word. I would say they're mountain regions, they're ocean regions. It's fairly equal, equally distributed.
Do you have cities?
Perhaps depends what you call a city. We live underground for a large part.
Wow. Cool.
Like a hive.
Right, right, right.
Yes, that's perhaps in the mountain. We don't build buildings on top of the mountain, we in the mountain. You could call it perhaps a dwelling if you wish a city, but it looks much different than your city.
Um, what do they look like on the inside, if you don't mind me asking? I mean, is it just like tunnels carved into stone, or do you have like, structures like, like, is it kind of like you go down tunnels until you reach like a big open area, or is it pretty much just tunnels like, like an anthill here on Earth might have?
Perhaps like an anthill, but much more sophisticated. It's indeed
I
hollowed
see.
out structure. It's not like we live inside the planet like some of your peoples live inside your planet. It's more
Right.
the idea we hollowed out large structure. We don't necessarily build buildings in terms we put material on top of each other. It's more the idea that we carve what's already there, holes in it. Yes, perhaps like an anthill, but obviously much more sophisticated with high technology.
I see.
We prefer to
Um,
live that way. It's not that we cannot build what you consider a city, we just deem it unnecessary.
uh, Now, can you please tell me like what your people typically do from day to day? I mean, in other words, what is your society based around? Are you like explorers, warriors, researchers, or what?
Researchers is perhaps a good idea. Explorers, not so much. We don't venture out that much, but in terms of exploration, sometimes it becomes interesting because it adds to the research. We're scientists,
Um,
what you would say. That's probably a good term from your word.
I see. Um, do your people reproduce through sexual intercourse, or are you more like the Zetas, where you reproduce more through a laboratory means?
Depends what you consider setup. There are several of them. There are many of them. Some of them produce sexually still, that are more biological. From those that we are aware of. However, yes, we don't need that. We can. It's still possible. But we general very typically produce through what you'd consider artificial means. Artificial womb, artificial insemination. But we still can what you consider reproduce sexually.
I see. Can you give me a rough idea of how long your typical lifespan is?
Perhaps 1,000 years by your evolution.
Cool, interesting. Um, what do you eat, or do you even need to eat?
Not necessary anymore. We drink, but we don't eat. We drink a special liquid.
I see.
It's
Um,
yellowish liquid. It's produced from various sources. We consider this to be the highest of nutrients for our physical bodies that has been produced. We don't engage in what you consider certain tastes, certain spices. We consume food through this liquid for the sole purpose of sustaining our physical form. We don't engage in pleasure eating. But we are aware that some of your species does this, even those that are higher evolved than you. We also have contact not just with the reptiles now, but also with different humanoids that look somewhat similar to your species. We understand it might look different to your eyes, but to us you look practically the same. And we understand that many of them, as well as you, are producing food for the purpose of enjoyment instead of sustenance. That's different in our kind.
I see. Um, can you tell me like a little bit about what you do for entertainment, so to speak? I mean, when you don't have to work, like, I mean, do you have, I don't know, movies or I don't know, do you do games or have sports or anything like that?
We have some you consider perhaps a mind game. We telepathically produce what you consider stories or constructs of the mind, and we send them among each other. We can also project what you consider perhaps a movie, but it's not on a screen or a hologram as you might imagine. It's more energetic, telepathic. I could attempt this with you, but you will perhaps not pick up very much from it, because we are fine tuned to each other. Even talking to this person is somewhat a task.
Right. Um, okay, on another topic then, I know that like the Kalask race seeded the genetics for alligators and crocodiles here on Earth. Is it reasonable to assume that your race seeded the genetics for our praying mantises on Earth?
It's sort of an oversimplification. So it didn't happen directly, like we brought them to your planet and released them from a spaceship, but you propose sort of panspermic idea, if you have termed as such from your own scientists. It
Yes.
happened much more individual, the panspermia idea, and we were part of this, yes. So in this case, you consider us seeders, yes. We are part of your, what you consider, creators. We seeded our genetics in your world. And as a species, if you call it a species, I mean, I'm representing this race, not my entire species that you would consider insectoid, but there are also other insectoids that you might call from your own learning, ant people, or praying mantids, or various other, perhaps even a grasshopper, or other beings that you would be reminded of if you looked at them, that are all of an insectoid nature, even hornet type beings, fly type beings. And some of them are members of what the reptiles have called their empire, and others are members of what you have termed a federation, various federations.
I see. Um, all right, now on another topic, I'm hoping to learn a little bit more about the Mantids' collaboration with the Zeta Grays with some of their human hybrid programs. And now, obviously, I know that some of this is off limits, but I would love to learn a little bit about what you are able to share about it. I mean, a lot of these, the beings that you're involved in producing, they're, sort of our children in a way. So obviously, like a lot of us would like to learn more about these programs and basically like what's going on. So, I mean, like, is there anything you can share about like what the Mantids, benefit from these hybrid programs? I like Kalask had previously mentioned that you're able to like simultaneously do some research on humans. So I mean, like, I'm just asking out of curiosity, like, is that what you're benefiting? Like, you're just interested in researching humans?
You're right. I'm not too happy about this question. There are certain things that are off limits, that's very correct.
I'm sorry.
It's
Yeah,
okay. You you have curiosity, I understand that. It's typical for your general species. There are also those that are involved of a humanoid nature, they have an interest in this too. It's not just us that are working with those beings, but to a large degree we supervise in our own idea of research. We supervise the program. We supervise how the idea of reproduction functions with those beings as well as yours. It mostly to their benefit, from what we understand, to secure their own survival. We're also more than willing to help in this process, but we're also aware of the rather hostility or rather fearful attitude that many members of your kind have towards those that are non-mammalian. We understand we appear strange to you as you do to us. So this for
right.
we rather take an offhand approach, as you call. More of a supervisor than anything. Not directly involved with, but yes, without us this program would not exist.
I see.
It's mostly your own hostility in your kind that makes us have an offhand approach.
Right, right. Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying. Um, but okay, like on another topic, as you may know, the person you're speaking through recently watched a documentary called Love and Saucers, which is pretty popular here on Earth right now. It it's about like the experiences and paintings of a man named David Huggins who has had many encounters with the mantid race and as well as a female hybrid named Crescent and many other ETs. Firstly, can I ask you if you were able to watch that documentary in David's mind, and can I ask what you think of it?
It
Did you
doesn't
like it?
happen in the sense that I watch what's in the mind of the person, but I'm familiar, especially with pictures that are now programmed in the person's mind, and ever since the person watched it, I'm aware of it. I directly connected to the person during the process of the viewing, especially the pictures, and yes, we are satisfied with the artwork, as the other David person might be well aware of. That's the amount of inclusion of our kind in our process that we're condoning.
Are there any
Especially an
pain?
idea of members of our kind standing next to a spaceship, as well as the crescent, as it's termed, staying next to a spaceship. That's very appropriate. It shows our involvement more sufficiently.
I see. Are there any paintings in the documentary that are of you personally? I mean, I'm just asking out of curiosity.
Not me personally, but another member, yes. One that's standing in the corner. From what I'm picking up from this person right here now, not from the other David, from this person right here now, what he has seen of one of us standing in the corner, it's very similar to me, of the room, while there's engagement between the crescent and the other person.
Yeah, like speaking of that, it's kind of a random question, but I mean, since you brought it up, like I've always wondered, like why the Mantids decide to stand in the corner while Crescent and David are doing their thing. I mean, like, are you just there, like, sort of for security or to oversee it, or are you like, I don't know. It's been a big mystery for me for like a year or so. Like, I mean, I'm just wondering, like, can you tell me why you stand in the corner? Like, are you feeding off the energy or something like that? Is there, I don't know, is there anything you can share about that?
I'm not feeding off the energy. We're just observing. We're observing an experiment. The way some of your kind, no offense, this might be offensive from what I understand to some of your peoples, but I don't mention such. Like when you're observing animals, your researchers, your scientists, and your own kind, and you're observing their breeding rituals, or how they interact with each other, and you're taking notes.
Right.
That's the role that we would have. That's why we're taking an offhand approach while we're viewing, but we're still showing clearly that we are in the presence.
I
So it's
understand.
not like we are feeding off this. We're not conducting this in order to suck energy or something like this. It's more a research project. We wouldn't gain anything from sucking energy in the sense. We're aware that some beings do this regularly, but that's not the purpose for our involvement with this program currently. It's for research purposes. It's
I
also
understand.
for the craze or the beings that you have termed such own benefit. It's their own program of recreation to keep
I got you.
their nature alive, their what you might term a spirit alive as a collective.
Right.